Crouse.
Well, congratulations on the film.
Thank you very much.
Tell me how you became involved with the last song. You started your acting career in Australia. This is a kind of a big step, so tell me about that a little bit.
Yeah, I'd been doing TV in Australia for about 2 years, and I did a film in Australia just before I'd come to America. And yeah, about this time last year, I started sending tapes over for different films here, and one of them was for The Expendables, and one of them was for Thor. And The Expendables is a Sylvester Stallone film.
With everybody
else, yeah, all the action heroes. And yeah, originally I sent a tape over, and a few days later my Australian agent called me and said that Stallone was going to call me, and he'd seen the tape. And I was like, cool. And he called me a few days later and spoke to me for a little while, and then offered me the part. And I said, yeah, absolutely. And I was about to come over for that, and a week later I got a call, and a couple of weeks later, and I got a call, and the script got completely rewritten, and 6 characters got cut. So that didn't end up happening, but the same day I found out that Thor wanted to fly me over and do a screen test. So I ended up coming over for that and doing a screen test for that, and I was in LA about 5 weeks before I got the script for the last song and read it and went in and auditioned, and
Wow.
here I am.
So 5 weeks. I mean, people spend years trying to look for that break. I mean, what's the difference then between? I'm going to back up just a little bit. What's the difference between the Australian film industry and the American film industry? I mean, I always tend to think that the Australian film industry probably a lot like the Canadian film industry. It's a bit smaller, a bit more intimate. The movies are a little smaller. Tell me a little bit about the differences.
It's a lot smaller. I think LA is where the biggest things are made, obviously. Yeah, the Australian film industry is very small. It's kind of a very tight-knit little crowd. It's kind of hard, I feel, to get into the film industry there. I mean, for me, I was always kind of working towards coming to LA at some point, and it wasn't that I didn't want to do films in Australia. It was just that nothing happened there. I shot a film in Australia which was written by English people, and it was all American accent. So, yeah, I mean, the good thing what I'm really thankful about is being able to do a couple of years on a TV there and soaps and really learn how it all works. Learn how a set works and learn how you as an actor work on set. And it's a really good way to learn. Just to learn about how working happens as an actor. And I feel like we as Australians actors there we get the chance to do that before we come to America. Before you try and bust into this huge movie industry here. So
I also think when you're working in a slightly smaller sort of venue like Australia or Canada, you kind of have to learn how to do it all too. You have to be able to do a lot of different stuff just to make a living as an actor in these smaller places.
Absolutely, yeah. You do these soaps where you're filming 15 scenes a day or more, and it's really, really hard work. And if you can do that, then yeah, you can kind of do anything.
What did you take away from working on the soaps? I mean, you're just working by your gut, I guess, when you're filming 15 scenes a day. Because for people that don't know, that's on a movie you might film 2. Yeah. So 15's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot of scenes, and it's a lot of dialogue to learn. It really is hard work, and yeah, like I said, if you can shoot 15 scenes a day, you can do 2 scenes a day on a big movie, and it's such a good place to become comfortable on set, because you're just working the whole time and really exploring different things, and it's a good place where you can make mistakes. It's no big deal. No one really sees it at the end of the day.
Right. Were you familiar with Nicholas Sparks before this script came your way?
A little bit. I'd seen The Notebook, and which I thought was a great story. It's really affects people and it's emotional, and I think his stories have great ways. He has a great way of affecting people, and they're very real things that people relate to.
Well, it's funny because when I think of the films that kind of brought you to America, Thor and The Expendables, they couldn't be any more different than this. Yeah. Are you someone? I mean, are you someone that goes? Would you go see a romance film if you were, paying the shot on a Friday night to go to the movies? Would you go see a romance, or do you get drawn more to sort of the action kind of thing?
I'm probably more drawn to actiony kind of stuff. But if my girlfriend wanted to go see a romantic film and I'd take her, I feel like you'd be in the good books if you went. You
Absolutely.
took your girlfriend to this film.
Tell me a little bit about working with Miley Cyrus, because as we talked about, you coming from Australia as an unknown in America, she's probably, well, certainly the most famous teenager in America, if not the world.
Yeah.
So it's got to be kind of a crazy situation to walk onto a set working opposite someone who is just so unbelievably famous.
Yeah. I mean, I had no idea that she was as big as she was before I met her, and I found it out pretty quickly. You know, I turned up to set the first day, and there's 100 fans and photographers, and crazy stuff. And I was never really nervous about working with her. I get really excited about working with someone like that. You know, it's a great opportunity, and I'm really comfortable on a set. I love acting, and I love the whole process. So it was, I wasn't nervous. I was really excited about working with her.
I think it's probably difficult to understand what it must be like to be in her sphere working until you're actually there. Because I've seen, and I use the Twilight people as an example, because I actually witnessed just an absolute crazy mob scene that unlike anything I had ever seen before. And until you're kind of in the middle of it, it's hard to understand what it's really like.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way of trying to explain to someone what it's like or how it's going to be like. I'm still figuring it out. I'm still experiencing it and learning it, and it's a very odd thing.
Yeah. Now, you had to, in this film, you had to scuba dive, you had to play volleyball, all that kind of stuff. Now, I would assume, coming from Australia, that those are things that sort of become second nature to you because there's a lot of ocean around you, but apparently not.
Scuba diving was hard, but I wasn't nervous about that. It took me 3 days to get my scuba diving license and get certified, and and I really enjoyed filming in that tank. It was like the second biggest aquarium in the world, so it's incredible for my job for a day to be just in a tank looking at fish and sharks and stuff.
Yeah.
That was
And those were real, right? They were
real, yeah, very real. Had whale sharks, grey nurses, hammerheads, stingrays, everything. It was insane. The hardest thing for me, and what I got really nervous about before shooting, was the volleyball. I'd lied to the producers and told them I could play, and turned up to practice a few weeks before we started shooting, and it turned out to be a really tough sport, a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. And we were spending a couple of days a week for a couple of hours a day really practicing and trying to get good. And it was probably the one thing that I was nervous about shooting, was that stuff.
Well, in the film, you're supposed to be, a champion volleyball player. So if you don't look like you actually know what you're doing, the whole thing kind of falls apart.
Exactly, yeah, and that was my biggest fear. I wanted it to look good.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about the character and just your take on him.
He's Will Blakely. He's comes from a very rich, formal family, and he's constantly being kind of forced down roads that he doesn't really want to go down, and his parents have put a lot of pressure on him and to do things that he's not passionate about and he doesn't feel good about. So he has these ambitions outside of what they want to do, and he meets this girl who basically allows him to become more of himself and really follow his heart and do the things that he wants to do, and they both allow each other to do that. And it's a big message in the film that they both allow each other to be true to themselves and do the things that they believe in.
Now, we're almost out of time. One last question. This film opens in a couple of weeks from the time that we're sitting here right now. You're about to get a lot more famous than you are right now. I mean, considering this is the first really big release, is there any way to prepare for that, or can you just sort of kind of sit back, hold your breath?
You tell me, man. I don't know. I honestly don't know what it's going to be like. I hope the film does really well. I'm really proud of it, and I hope people respond to it. I'm excited about the next few months. I don't know what to expect. It's hard to tell. Yeah, I know. It's always so interesting to be sort of, I guess, on the cusp of something kind of major like this happening. I mean, in the last couple of months, because I would assume that you've been out promoting for a little while, talking to people, doing interviews like this. How's that been for you? Because it's kind of an odd thing. I think that the film was probably made 6 months ago, and now you come back and you have to sort of talk about it again and relive it. It is, man. It's a really odd thing. It's the part that I'm not at all familiar with. It's this part's all very new, and I'm getting flown around the world to talk about the film and myself, and it's a very interesting thing, and it's exciting though. I'm really excited for it to come out. Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
Thanks a lot, buddy.
Have a good one.
Richard Crouse.